What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
What's up, YouTube, and welcome to the latest episode of the Layup Line. We are a week away from the start of the NBA season, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on the biggest stories. Follow this channel on Twitter. Make sure you like the Facebook page as well for some inside looks on upcoming videos and reactions to live games. Now, I'm still setting huge growth goals for this channel, so I'd appreciate if you join me on that journey. With all that out the way, let's talk about the Houston Rockets. In the 2011-12 season, the Rockets were a team built around a young core of Kyle Lowry, Kevin Martin, and Goran Dragic. The team won 34 of 66 games in a lockout-shortened season before pulling off one of the all-time robberies in a trade when they swapped Kevin Martin for their 2012 first-round pick in Jeremy Lamb and two future first-round picks that would ultimately become Steven Adams and Mitch McGary. And Harden would go on to become an 8-time All-Star, a 3-time scoring champ, a 7-time All-NBA, and have a historic scoring MVP season, all with the Houston Rockets. So why does it all feel so disappointing? After the Rockets' latest playoff exit, the Rockets' locker room and organization has fallen apart before our eyes. First to depart was head coach Mike D'Antoni, who announced he would not be returning to the team as this was the final year under his contract and both sides could not agree on an extension. Team executive Daryl Morey was next out the door, and Morey is viewed as the architect of the Harden-Houston era. Over his tenure, Morey prioritized acquiring stars above all else, pairing Harden with Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook. The Westbrook pairing was an awkward fit of two good friends who after one season decided it was best to part ways, so the Rockets traded Russ and are bringing in the newest former All-Star to partner with the Beard in John Wall. A lot of talent has walked out of the Rockets' doors over the past 8 years, so I wanted to examine how exactly we got to this point where James Harden is now asking out. In Harden's first season as a Rocket, he jumped from averages of 17, 4, and 4 to putting up 26, 6, and 5. His usage rate jumped from 21.6 to 29, and Harden made his first All-Star appearance, which by the way was in Houston that year, and the team jumped to a 45-win team, which was good enough for 8th seed in the West that year. The Rockets would suffer a first-round exit to Harden's former team in the Thunder in a series where Harden averaged 26 points but on awful shooting efficiency. The season was a disappointment, but they were a young team with a 23-year-old first-time All-Star in Harden who was extremely underpaid and under contract for a few more seasons guaranteed. Daryl Morey swooped in and signed an all-star big man free agent in Dwight Howard that offseason, and he averaged 18, 12 rebounds while blocking nearly 2 shots a game for them that season. Now with 2 all-stars, Houston became a 54-win team, which was good enough for 4th in the West playoffs. The Rockets would still lose in a 6-game series in the first round against the Portland Trail Blazers in a series where Harden and Dwight both averaged over 25 points, but the Rockets still didn't have the depth to match up, and Harden had another inefficient series. The Rockets came back stronger in the 2014-15 season, winning 56 games. They landed the 2nd seed and managed to get the Western Conference Finals, but they lost in the 5 games to the eventual champion Golden State Warriors. Harden had his most efficient playoff run this year, averaging 27 on 50 field goal percentage. The franchise was unable to build on that in the 2016 season. It was a huge down point for the Rockets. They parted ways with head coach Kevin McHale after a 4-7 start to the season. Also, Dwight Howard's production had been declining in every season with the team, and this year is where James Harden really gained a reputation as a bad defender. Every night he was getting clipped for showing little to no effort to stay in front of his man, and James's defense was so bad in fact that year many in the media felt it was justified to leave him off the All-NBA selections despite averaging 29 points, 7.5 assists, and 6 rebounds. The Rockets would finish with a 41-41 record, losing a 5-game series to the 73-win Warriors in the first round. Now clearly it was time for a change, so the Rockets decided to let Dwight Howard walk for Atlanta as a free agent and promoting Clint Capella to the starting job. And under new head coach Mike D'Antoni, James became the squad's new point guard. The team jumped to 55 wins and landed the 3rd seed in the East that first year under Mike D'Antoni, and James Harden had an all-time season where he came in 2nd place for the MVP award behind former teammate Russell Westbrook, who averaged a triple-double on the season. James Harden was 2 rebounds away from also averaging a triple-double, and the Rockets also placed 3 spots higher in the standings than Oklahoma City. So this was a controversial MVP race at the time, and it still gets debated to this day, but Harden and the Rockets would get the last laugh after eliminating Russ and the Thunder in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs. The semifinals, however, the Rockets would lose to the Spurs in a 6-game series where Tony Parker only played 2 games, and a 40-year-old Manu Ginobili blocked Harden's game-tying 3 in Game 5. Kawhi missed the closeout Game 6, in which the Rockets got blown out 114-75. Harden drew a lot of criticism for that Game 6 as well. With the Spurs' best player out and your season on the line, it's bad enough that you were blown out, but Harden was 2 of 11 in his 36 minutes and looked and played like he had already given up. That offseason, it was once again time to change things up as the Rockets performed a blockbuster sign and trade for Chris Paul, and while many questioned the fit of 2 ball-dominant guards, Houston ended up making another significant jump up to 65 wins and 1st in the West that season. They were also good enough for James to land his first MVP award after a few seasons of 2nd place finishes. The Rockets looked legit in the playoffs, and they beat the Timberwolves and Jazz in 5-game series both. They took the Warriors, who had 2 former MVPs with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, to a 7-game series. Now this is the infamous series where Chris Paul gets a hamstring injury in the closeout of the Rockets' Game 5 win. But even with the CP injury, the Rockets had a good chance at winning the series, pushing it to 7 games, where they were more infamously missed 27 consecutive 3-point shots, which is a playoff record. I don't know any other way to describe a team missing 27 consecutive threes other than as a major choke job. If Houston could have managed even 26% shooting, which is 10% lower than their regular season average on those 27 misses, they would have had a real chance to win this game and make the finals, because they ultimately only lost by 9 points. After that 2018 choke job, the 2019 version of the team was a bit worse. Chris Paul and Clint Capella dealt with injuries, and the Rockets gave Carmelo Anthony a 10-game tryout before cutting him. They also lost significant depth with Trevor Ariza leaving for Phoenix, and Luke Mbah-a-Moute headed to the Clippers. Houston had always rotated the role players around Harden, but this year it was clear that losing your best defensive wings would impact the team, and the Rockets tried to patch that up by asking former defensive coach Jeff Bzdelik to come out of retirement for them. The roster wasn't the only thing new with the Rockets. They had recently changed owners, and Tillman Fertitta purchased the team in September of 2017. Now, it's been reported that this change in ownership also impacted the team's willingness to spend, and part of why Ariza and Luke Mbah-a-Moute were allowed to walk. We even got reports that contract negotiations with Clint Capella had become contentious, and for a moment it seemed like they may have been unwilling to re-sign Chris Paul because of his age and injury history, despite pretty much guaranteeing that they would re-sign him to a max deal when they made the initial sign and trade to get him from the Clippers. So even outside reporting, we can see with our own eyes the moves the Rockets made continue to lower their tax bill since Fertitta became the owner. I'm sure plenty of Rockets fans may hold a grudge with Daryl Morey or Mike D'Antoni, but Tillman has become universally hated amongst Rockets fans, and even if he isn't one of the reasons Harden is asking out, he's not a good enough owner that Harden should reconsider staying. And you're pretty much caught up on the Harden storyline to this point. The team had another disappointing playoff exit in the Western Conference semis, losing to Golden State. Golden State was even missing Kevin Durant after the Warriors' Game 5 win. And even in that closeout Game 6, the Rockets went into the half tied at 57, holding Steph Curry to 0 points, and they still somehow lost the game 118-113 after allowing Curry to explode for 33 points in the second half. This latest season was most notable for the team's decision to swap Chris Paul for Russ after reports of chemistry issues between the Rockets guards. The swap would lead to the team controversially trading away their traditional center in Capella and playing the smallest lineups in history to better space the floor. This resulted in a second-round exit in 5 games to the eventual champion Lakers. And that's why, despite the fantastic record-breaking success that Harden has had in the regular season, since joining Houston it feels a bit empty that an MVP caliber player and the team compromised to build around and mortgage their entire draft future for has amounted to 3 first-round exits, 3 semifinals appearances, and 2 disappointing conference finals exits when they were so close to that goal. The franchise is now left depleted of young talent or draft assets, with disgruntled veterans from their dying title run without enough top-end talent to be considered even a dark horse contender. But thank you for watching this video. If you learned something new or if you like what I do, you should consider subscribing. I do plan on releasing more videos like this, and I'll be posting consistently with this season almost underway. So don't forget to hit that like button and comment down below so we can talk about the Houston Rockets and James Harden. Let me know what you think of his recent Rockets run, and where would you like to see the beard end up? Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.